Welcome back. This is episode 3 of my Realignment 2028 series as the expansion Oakland Athletics. Hope you guys have enjoyed what's come out so far. Um, we are opening day against Seattle, and a few minor things to address, before we get started in this episode. First is that I did put in a few waiver claims, just mostly pitching depth. These guys who are, look decent, are all under 30, could potentially see playing time for our team this year. One who is kind of fun to look at is Noah Cameron, who was actually the round 2 pick in the expansion draft by the Stars. They decided that his 4 2/3 innings of spring training was enough, and he's gone. He's on waivers, so we'll snatch him up there. Dane Myers is outfield depth. We kind of need a little bit of that at the moment. The biggest waiver claim, though, potentially, is Luis Angel Acuna, who played for the Mets in 2026 and 2027. And again, CPU, questionable decisions. After a 2.8 WAR season in 2026, he then proceeded to play the entire season in AAA in 2027, putting up 2.3 WAR there as well. I mean, his ratings look decent. His defense is not bad. And I mean, well, I guess if you play him at shortstop, his defense isn't great, but he would be our second baseman. Because that's, or even a third baseman. And if you look at his ratings, he could play outfield as well. Either the corner outfield spots. I'd be happy putting him at second or third. Not putting him at shortstop where he's got a 45 rating and he's going to be negative defensively for you. So we get him for free off of waivers. I don't know if that's necessarily realistic, but he was out there. I'll take him. And in return, Jesus Baez is getting waived. He passed through waivers already once. Actually, another waiver claim from the Mets. So hopefully he'll pass through again. And again, Acuna is going to be our starting second baseman this year. At least until I get a chance to maybe cross-train him at third or some of the corner outfield spots. Ideally, you would have liked to do that in spring training, but it's opening day, can't really do that now. So the other big thing to note is that all of the people that I waived at the end of the last episode are now in our minors in AAA, except David Peterson, who is refusing to be demoted. So I have to decide what I'm going to do with him. Ideally, you'd look to trade him. I haven't yet shopped him, so let's see if I could get anything in return, even eating all of his salary. And Gregory Barrios from the Braves is about the best offer I think we're going to get. He's a minor league player. Yeah, I mean, the alternative would be outright waiving him. And even then, he is not. Yeah, this is a weird CPU thing where they'll accept the offer here, but not necessarily in the actual trade screen. So Oswaldo Cabrera looks okay as well. He's making $5 million this year. Yeah, I don't hate that either, I guess. Let's see. I guess we'll submit this offer, and ideally they'll accept it because they said they would on the last screen. So we'll see. I'll go ahead and start simming through the next few days. These guys are all hopefully going to pass through waivers again and play in our minors to start the season. So I'll go ahead and sim the first few days and then just let you know what happens with David Peterson here. So I'll see you soon. All right, welcome back. As you can see, we lost our opening day game 1-7, 7-1. Mitch Keller gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 earned. Um, yeah, not a great showing overall from our pitching or our offense for that matter. So, uh, new to our team, traded for David Peterson is Peyton Eels. He looks decent. Had a decent season in AAA last year. Could be depth at multiple positions. Not particularly great at any of them. He is 28 years old, but we were able to trade David Peterson for him and only retain about half of his salary. So that's not the worst that it could have been versus just releasing him and eating it all. So I am rolling with a 30-man roster through May 1st, doing the expanded rosters, and after that it'll go back down to 26. So I'll have to see how guys do to start the season, who's going to stay up on the Major League Club, and if we're managed to win more than, I don't know, 10 games or so. But we'll see. This season, I'm going to consider anything over 100 losses to be a success. So, yeah, we'll see how the season goes. I will go ahead and sim through May 1st. I'll stop if there's any interesting developments, any injuries, things like that. But other than our day-to-day injury on Blake Burkhalter here, nothing too amazing to report so far. So I will see you all at the next update. All right, welcome back. Do have our first major injury here. We are 4-9, which is not great. You know, it's roughly what I expected, though. Not much else to say beyond that. Cooper Kinney, who is currently our starting first baseman, out with a fractured rib for 4 weeks. So we are going to put him on the 10-day IL and call up someone. I don't really want to mess with the 40-man at the moment, so let's see where options are in AAA. There's Santana, there's Encarnacion, Cutter Coffee, and Byron Churio. I don't probably want to call up our catcher, so let's look at all these guys. Churio off to an amazing start in AAA. Wow, 1.2 OPS. Yeah, that's insane. All right, Coffee. Also a good start. 120 OPS, .3 WAR in 10 games, and decent pitching, which is surprising. Encarnacion, good, solid. Santana, also great. OPS not as crazy as Chorio's, but the defense more than makes up for it. Okay. And then our two pitchers, Robbie Snelling is also hurt for 3 weeks. And not doing particularly well on top of that. So we do potentially have the option then to throw him on the 60-day IL and free up a spot. Jose Montero, by the way, just has a 3-day injury, so I'm not going to bother putting him on the DL for that. Let's look at the rest of AAA and see if there's anyone else that's absolutely raking at the moment. Ben Williamson is. He's someone who's not on the 40-man, but was one of our expansion draft picks. Churio does have a slight amount of service time already, though. I think with that start, he's going to get called up and likely stay up for a while. So I'll have to adjust the lineups here slightly. But yeah, I'll check in at the end of May, see how things are going, unless again we have another injury. Yeah, I'll talk to you then. All right, welcome back. It is May 2nd because I had to manually adjust this to turn off expanded rosters. But we are 7-19. That's pretty bad. In fact, it is bad enough to be tied for the worst record in baseball with the Miami Marlins. Surprisingly, our expansion counterparts, the Nashville Stars, are currently in first in their division. Um, none of their categories here seem particularly amazing, so there might be some good. Let's see if we go to expanded standings. How is their Pythagorean? Yeah, I mean, they're outperforming their Pythagorean by 1 game. Um, they also have Freddie Freeman on their team, who's doing quite well at age 38. Go Freddie Freeman. Um, and Rafaela is on a tear. Yeah, they are just a better team than us, I guess, at the moment. Um, some highlights, though, for the first part of the season. Mitch Keller coming on with a 3.04 ERA, currently sitting at 0 WAR, but this isn't bad. I mean, this is kind of what we signed him for. Hopefully, he's going to be attractive to some team as trade bait come the trade deadline. Jackson Ferris has been our ace so far, currently projected to put up 5.7 WAR, which would be an amazing season. 1.54 through 6 games, 1.11 WHIP. Yeah, very solid start. Very happy with what he's done so far. He could have started the season in the minors, and I think he's proving that he deserves to be a major leaguer. Montero and Gibson have both been okay so far. We've had good performance from Kevin Kelly, solid ERA, good fit, even with some bad BABIP luck in there. So he's proving to be a good signing. Oviedo has a really high FIP, low ERA, so we'll see how he does in the closer role going forward. Bullpen overall has been, solid but not spectacular. And if we look at our pitching stats, that kind of holds up here. 7th in ERA, 7th in bullpen ERA, 5th in FIP, 7th in pitching work. Pretty much middle of the pack in terms of pitching. Where we've struggled definitely has been our offense. The only real highlight to speak of so far is Nick Simillo, who keeps his torrid spring training pace up with a .901 OPS, 151 OPS plus. That's on pace for a 4 WAR season purely as a DH, and we're not going to play him at first base pretty much ever. So yeah, that's what you want from your everyday DH. Mooney and Sonoha will probably get more playing time given that their OPS is high here. Other team leaders in WAR, Brooks Lee, currently splitting time at third base with Joey Ortiz, will likely move to be the everyday third baseman or even second baseman, since Luis Angel Acuna has struggled so far to start the season. He's doing pretty solid so far. Torin, OPS plus under 100, but the defense is definitely carrying him through, which, he's always going to be a defense first player. You hope that his offense will maybe develop a little bit more, but we'll see. Cerda has won the starting catching job for now, but both catchers have kind of been even throughout the season, so I'll probably keep splitting them roughly 50-50. Cerda has the better defense. Narvaez should have the theoretically better offense, but we'll see. I like Cerda a little bit more, especially since he is younger than Narvaez, and Narvaez will likely just continue to decline here. But he's putting up numbers roughly on track with what he put up last year. So, he's going to be a guy that stays on the major league team, barring injuries or anything. Some lowlights so far this season. You can tell we have a hole in our number 5 spot. That's because our former number 5 pitcher DL Hall is been quite bad to start the season. Put him on waivers in 8.5 ERA through his first 4 starts. That's not good for your 4th starter. And Juan Brito also has struggled to start the season. Only 16 plate attempts, so very low sample size. But I'd rather call up one of these guys in the minors to maybe get an additional chance. And then Alex Call, who doesn't offer much at all in the way of defense, and so far has not offered anything in terms of offense, has been worth negative WAR. For a 33-year-old left fielder, that's not what you want. You want something better than that. So, pitching wise, we have an open spot. I will likely send out another reliever here because looking at AAA, we have Juan Corella, who is absolutely on fire to start the season. He was a waiver claim from Boston and has put up a sub-1 ERA so far in AAA. He probably... I'll have to see if I want to use him as a starter or a reliever. Either way, he should be in the majors right now. Those numbers are too good to not bring him up. We also have an open spot on our bench, and we've got, in terms of WAR, Santana is the leader. I think I want to keep him playing every day for now at AAA. Likely we'll call him up at some point during the season. Cutter Coffee continues to rake. Again, I want to keep him playing every day. Given that we're going to try to make someone a backup infielder, I think Ben Williamson makes sense to call up here. We do have some open 40-man spots since some guys that were waived. I think for now, Ben Williamson. And Arenado is an interesting name as well to kind of keep an eye on. He's still playing in our minor league system. Could potentially play first base for us if injuries and such happen throughout the year. So for now, let's see. We're going to call up Williamson. And we need to demote a pitcher. In terms of FIP and WAR, I think Carlson Reed might be the choice. By the way, Sinja is a switch pitcher in real life, which is pretty astounding. I guess I don't know how you'd simulate that in OOTP, but he's been solid for us so far. So you love to see guys like that succeed. Let's see. And I guess it will also depend too on who has options left. So looks like most of these guys have options left. Yeah. So I kind of have my pick. I guess Reed, even though we're using him in the setup role, he hasn't been amazing, and he could potentially start in the minors. Probably will start in the minors. So I don't hate sending him down. Oh, right. So Reed is a Rule 5 pick. Okay. So he will not be sent down. Instead, we'll probably look at someone like Alex McFarland, who, again, is a potential starter, but probably not likely to get much better than he currently is. Yeah, we'll have him start in the minors, and we will bring up where did he go? Juan Corella. So I'll have to do some lineup adjustment here, figure out who our fifth starter is going to be, whether it's Corella or if another one of these guys, someone like Burkhalter, could maybe slot in as the fifth starter for now. Carlson Reed, even, you know, he hasn't put up bad numbers. Corella was doing well as a starter in the minors. Let's leave him as a starter in the majors. Limit his pitches. I like to limit my pitching, starting pitchers. I feel like they have less chance of injury if you keep them under 100 pitches, especially towards the beginning of the season. As the season goes on, I tend to maybe relax that a little bit, especially like this year where it's more about just giving guys the chance to develop and potentially show off their skills as trade bait. But yeah, not a great start to the season overall. One other quick note, the closest thing we have to a top prospect is Jose Bello. If you look at our player development right now, we are dead last in the minor leagues. 0 top 100 prospects. The closest we have is Bello and Churio. Bello, though, did win the Pitcher of the Month award for April. And when you see his stats, you can see why. 0 ERA through 5 starts. Did not give up an earned run the entire month of April. So normally I'd probably leave him at AA a little bit longer, but with that start, putting up 1.9 WAR, I think he deserves a promotion to AAA where he will start. And who knows, maybe even see the big league club by the end of the year. Santana continues to play hot. He'll probably be called up shortly as well. So if either of those guys get called up soon, I'll let you know. Again, it's more kind of controlling service time for some of these guys. Also letting them develop a little bit more, since this is likely not a playoff season, barring a miraculous run. We're trying to kind of see what we have and go from there. So I'll keep simming here, and I'll do some lineup adjustment. We'll see how our new fifth pitcher, Juan Corella, goes. Williamson will slot in. Mooney and Sanoja. We might make some more lineup adjustments here if some of these other guys continue to struggle. Clace Churio has struggled at the major league level since coming up, but it's not going to be pretty probably no matter what lineup we put out there. We just don't have the depth. We don't have the star power. Currently our highest, rated player is someone with 2.5 stars who would be considered league average. So when your best players are league average players, that's likely not a good sign for, this feels like the real Oakland Athletics organization currently. Sorry, Ace fans, but we'll see how this goes. Any other big injuries, any changes, I'll stop the sim. But other than that, I'll see you the next big update, probably the beginning of June. We've also got the draft combine. I'll likely sim through the draft in this episode and stop there. The draft combine is new to 26, so that's kind of fun feature that they added. But yeah, we'll talk to you soon as there's another major update. So I'll see you then. Welcome back. It's now May 16th. Just a brief update here. We are now 14-25. Gone 5-5 in our last 10. May so far going a little bit better than April has. Also wanted to point out Jackson Ferris continues to do well. He's top 3 in the AL in ERA, strikeouts, and pitcher WAR. So well on his way to potentially being an all-star. We'll see. just a roster update more than anything here. Cooper Kinney is back from injury, has had 2 rehab games in the minors. We're going to bring him up in his place. We're sending Ben Williamson back down. He was, more of a backup than anything and wasn't particularly exciting in his few plate appearances that he got. So Cooper Kinney is going to be brought back up and be our everyday first baseman again. We have Brooks Lee playing first, but as you can see, he's not experienced in the position at all. Ideally we want him playing, but in other positions besides first. So I also wanted to point out the Carlson Reed experiment is likely coming to a close. 10 innings, 7.84 ERA. FIP is bad as well. He was a Rule 5 pick for us, so we do have to let him go, but I honestly don't think we're missing out on too much here. In his place, we're going to bring up Noah Cameron. Jose Bello doing quite well in his time so far at AAA, but I'm not looking to bring him up just yet. And most of our other pitching, our other guys like Henry Lillane, who have had a bit of time in the majors so far and haven't been particularly impressive, or our guys that are just not putting up great numbers. Yuki Matsui continuing to struggle a little bit in AAA. Hopefully he brings some of those numbers down. But for now, Noah Cameron, he's put up decent numbers. He's put up a decent amount of WAR, and we also don't have any lefties in the bullpen currently, so he can kind of fill that role for us as well. So he'll be there, and not much else to talk about here. I'll adjust the lineups a little bit, and I guess I can show what our bats are doing. Sanoha is now our everyday left fielder and continuing to do well in that role, putting up positive OPS plus, on track for a 2 WAR season. At this point we'll take that. And Mooney was the other guy who I looked to get a little bit more playing time. He hasn't been particularly impressive in his increased playing time. He'll probably be the one that loses out on a bit of playing time now with Cooper Kinney coming back. But Kinney being a lefty, maybe he'll still see some time there against other lefties. So I'll adjust these lineups a little bit. We currently have, catching-wise, Narvaez over Cerda against righties, flip-flop against lefties, just because the splits work out better that way. Kinney's going to likely slot in and play for sure every day versus righties. We'll see versus lefties. So our outfield depth is kind of weak at the moment. I have a lot of infielders in the lineup, not too many outfielders, basically just these 3. And then, Brooks Lee and Vargas can kind of play left field in a pinch here. So have stuff, shifted around if these guys need rest, which they will at some point during the season. So, ideally, probably one of these guys gets sent down and I bring up, someone like a Encarnacion, but I like having him playing every day at the moment. And none of our other outfielders have been particularly exciting so far in AAA, where, a Dane Myers, if he did well, I'd consider bringing him up as a backup, but, he's putting up a OPS plus under 100 in AAA, which is not exciting. Alex Caw, we already know what he can do, which is, not much, and he's actually potentially a candidate to just be outright released since he's stinking it up here too. Churio also continuing to struggle in AAA. Anyway, I'll likely go through the end of June here, and beginning of June, and I'll update you on where we stand then. See you then. All right, it is now June 1st. We are 20 and 33, which is good for still last in the division. We are still tied for the worst record in baseball, but I do see some slight signs of improvement at least. We started the year 7 and 18, which is pretty abysmal. Went 13 and 15 in May, only 2 games under 500, which honestly at this point I'll take that. Um, Overall, kind of the same story as before. Pitching has been good. Um, not amazing, but good, which is, yeah, we'll take that. Um, Defense has also been good, second in the AL in defensive efficiency, third in zone rating. Offense still quite bad. We are, doing pretty bad in every category except for stolen bases where we're ninth. So we're only mediocre there, bad everywhere else. So going into individual players a little bit more, Jackson Ferris continuing to have an amazing season. Is he still top three? He's still top three in ERA and WAR, 1.3 ERA, and he's also got a decent FIP to back that up. So he's doing quite well. Shuffled things around a little bit. Ferris is now our number one starter. Keller moves down to number two. He's doing all right. Falling off a little bit from his good start. Still worth a spot in the rotation. Still looking to trade him probably at some point during the season, but we'll see how things pan out. Montero has considered to be, or continued to be, pretty decent. This is a guy that you don't mind as your third starter, I guess. Like, his WAR isn't great, but his ERA is good. Everything else that you'd want is decent. His FIP is not great either. So we'll see if that continues. If he manages to keep a sub-4 ERA as the season goes on. Juan Corella had a few good starts to start his major league career, and since then has fallen off a bit. You can see his ERA has just gone up with every start he's made. We'll probably look to either move him to the bullpen or send him back down to the minors. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do for that fifth starter spot, because Blake Burkhalter is going to try our fourth starter spot for now. He has had a great start to the season, especially for a guy that almost didn't make the team. He basically made it. Round 32, one of my last expansion draft picks. Basically started the season on the roster because he was already on the 40-man, and I didn't want to, waive him potentially, and he probably still projects as more of a reliever than a starter, but with some of our other starters struggling to start the season, we'll see what he's got. Worst case scenario, I move him back to that long relief role where he was doing quite well. Also adjusted some things around here. Oviedo started the season as our closer, is now middle relief man. He's struggled a little bit in the closer role. His FIP was quite high. Since moving to middle relief, it's gone down a little bit. He'll probably stick there. Kevin Kelly has continued to be consistent. I kind of, even though his FIP is not as good as Benua's is, I feel like in a real life bullpen, he would probably be the guy that would be considered the closer. And so I stuck him there. And Benua is our setup man along with Rodriguez. Those two previously had the two highest FIPs on the team. Benua has continued to do well. Rodriguez has slipped a little bit, but still putting up a good ERA. We'll see if I have to adjust things a little bit more. Noah Cameron has come on and pitched 12 innings of shutout ball, including, if we look at splits against lefties, small sample size, but again, best FIP on the team against lefties. So that's what you want from your, only left-handed hand in the bullpen, and we're going to keep using him in that role. Sinja is fine. His maybe had a little bit of bad luck with his FIP versus his ERA, but he's definitely deserving of a spot here. So might look to make a few slight lineup adjustments on the pitching side of things. I mean, no one is really wowing me at AAA besides, of course, Jose Bello continues to crush. Actually was pitcher of the month for the PCL as well. That's now 2 consecutive months that he's earned that honor in 2 different leagues. So he is well on his way to, see if we see some of these ratings go up a little higher, potentially playing in the majors this season. Still a lot of development to go. Just turned 23, so I'd like to leave him in the minors until he's more developed and ready. But with numbers like this, I think he's on his way. And the other big thing I want to look at here is our offense, which, as I said before, is doing quite bad. It's June and no one on our team has won WAR yet. That's not ideal. Cooper Kinney is currently our leader in WAR and OPS, and he's only played 25 games this season. So we definitely need something here, some kind of a change. And Torin is a guy that I'm looking at as, he was our starting shortstop to start the season, mainly because he was a Rule 5 guy, and not only is his bat disappointing, we kind of expected that would be the case, but he's definitely, he's had 5 errors this season. His ZR is not what I would expect through almost 50 games. Kind of disappointing defensively as well, from what you'd expect from his ratings. So if you're a defensive first guy and you're not producing good defense and you're not producing on offense, you probably don't deserve to be starting, especially when in AAA, Santana's absolutely crushing. I mean, his OPS isn't amazing, but fielding, that's more in line what I'd expect with those kind of ratings. So I think it's time, especially since Zanatello, who started the season in AA, was crushing there. So I brought him up to AAA, where he's continuing to do well, but is currently blocked at the shortstop spot by Santana. I think it makes sense to move things around. Torin, I don't think I want to outright cut him just yet, just because he is only 23 and he is a Rule 5 guy. I don't have the option to send him down to the minors, which is what I would likely do if he wasn't a Rule 5 guy. Instead, I'll probably shift stuff around. Ortiz has not been particularly impressive. If he does have minor league options, so he's probably the odd man out here. And then shift things around. So Torin's going to be our backup second baseman / shortstop. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. On stream here. Just double checking to make sure it doesn't make more sense. I mean, Ortiz is slightly better against righties than these other 3 guys, but let's see. Mooney does way better against lefties, and in fact is starting and producing quite well. And our 2 catchers, we need multiple catchers on the roster. And let's see here. Vargas also does much better against lefties, and probably deserves. Yeah, he is currently starting against lefties. So Ortiz is the odd man out here. He's got minor league options. He's gonna go down to AAA for now. He's very unhappy about that, but too bad. He should have played better, I guess. And Santana is moving up to be our everyday shortstop. So I'll go ahead and adjust those lineups here. Next big thing we've got coming up is the draft, and the draft combine new this year. That's kind of fun to go through, so I'll go ahead and sim up to that and kind of explain, I'm still kind of figuring out how that works, what the best kind of strategies are in the draft combine. Be interested to hear thoughts on that. I kind of have a way I'm going to approach it, and we'll have to see. There's some interesting draft wrinkles as well when it comes to this year's draft with being an expansion team and how things kind of played out. So I'll show you that here as soon as the combine is starting. So see you soon. All right, welcome back. It is now June 7th, start of the draft combine. We are 21-37. Just won yesterday's game to break up a 5-game losing streak, so that's just great there. Minor injury note, Alvaro Benua had some wrist soreness, moderate injury. I'm going to put him on the DL for 2 weeks. Coming up in his place is Yuki Matsui, who's been decent at AAA. Kind of turned things around, had a good FIP to go behind his decent ERA here. So putting him in our bullpen, I'm going to use him as a middle reliever, also against lefties. So not much else to report here. Let's see. Santana has been not super great through 5 games, but it's only 5 games. I'll be willing to give him a little bit more leniency. So so going to the draft combine, you can see this is a new feature in 26. You get a chance to view some of the top prospects. 45 of the top 100 will be attending. You can see these names here. I'll kind of look at the draft pool, see who looks interesting. Interesting note about the draft order. So I initially set it so that the 2 expansion teams, the Stars and the Athletics, we're drafting 1 and 2, but I also left the draft lottery on, and so how that apparently works out is it slots us in at the number 1 and 2 slot, and then does the draft lottery. And as you can see, we had some pretty terrible luck. Dropped down about as far as we could drop. Number 2, the Stars fell to number 4. We also lose a spot thanks to this Detroit Tigers comp pick. I don't know who they failed to sign last year, but not ideal. So we'll be drafting 8th overall in this year's draft, which kind of sucks. We would have, liked a chance to draft at the top of the draft to get some of these elite players that will likely go early. Your Kyle Reeds, your Mike Sanderses, although again the AI tends to overrate these top 5-star potential high school type players. I'll kind of go in and see the draft combine. I think there's a few different strategies you can kind of go with here. Again, this is a new feature, so I don't think there's kind of a meta, if you will, like some of the other features in this game. I haven't seen like a consensus best way to do this. I do know, the more, you could read it here. Each day your scout will watch and reach out to the players on the watch list, increasing your scouting accuracy on the players and their relationship with your organization. You can assign them to any number of players, but the more that is assigned, the less time your scout will have for each, and the less benefit you will receive. So basically what that translates to is if you throw a bunch of guys on there, you're not going to get very accurate ratings. You're not going to get very much relationship with the players versus only putting a few guys on there. So probably what we are going to look to do is, first I haven't made my draft views here. So let's go ahead and pull up, not batting stats, batting potential. And we'll go through here and customize. We want age in there. We want to include BABIP potential. For some reason, that's not included by default. We want to include their work ethic and their baseball IQ. And I like to see injury proneness. And we also will want to see their demand. Yeah, so going with that, sorting all batters. Mark Lane immediately stands out here. 5-star potential. He is 18. He's going to be extremely hard for us to sign, but he does project to be a good player. And the typical thing that I've seen, kind of the draft strategy here, as I will throw on here their overall rating as well, because it's nice to see some of these guys that start as say Tommy Visconti is a 4-star potential, but starts at 1.5-star potential. It means he's got less development to go. He's going to be at a 90 stealing ability. Okay, that's interesting. Typically these guys in past OOTP games have had a much higher chance of actually reaching their potential versus these guys that start out at 5-star potential and kind of just fall off over time. But given that we are an expansion team, we don't really have any kind of minor league system to speak of. I am okay with drafting a high schooler, especially if it's someone who has got good work ethic and good intelligence like Mark Lane does. Those are two personality traits that tend to correlate with better development for your prospects. So we'll go ahead and shortlist him for now. Who else do we have here? Justin Mosier has pretty amazing batting ratings here. If we sort by power, Kyle Reed has a 95 power potential. Okay. Yeah, and he's our projected number 1 pick, I believe. So there's pretty high chance that we won't get to draft him. Yeah, I mean, so we want to be smart here too. We don't necessarily want to scout the players that are for sure going to go at the top of the draft. We'll want to scout guys that have a good chance of falling to us at number 8. But at the same time, if one of these top guys does fall to us at number 8, we don't want to have not scouted him. I think it's safe to say that Mark Lane, with this potential, is not going to fall to number 8. So I'm not, or sorry, not Mark Lane. Whoever I was just talking about, Kyle Reed. There we go. With that potential, he's likely going to go very early on. And let's save this view as batting draft. Okay. Yeah, and I guess I could just add him to the watch list as well. Oh, one other thing I do want to put on here as well. Fielding ratings. We want to see outfield range and we want to see infield range, because those both correlate highly with what kind of defender they will be. If you want a good shortstop, he's going to have high infield range. If you want a good center fielder, he's going to have high outfield range. Other positions, the defense doesn't matter as much, but still good to have. I mean, your right fielder, if he has high range, that's only going to be a positive for you. Let's see. Catchers I'll just kind of look at manually here. Both these guys seem okay. All right, let's see. If we sort by overall, I did like the look of Tommy Visconti with his very high stealing ability, already pretty developed. He could come in and play probably an A ball and be okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't usually like to start guys above A ball unless they're really, really developed. Like, he could maybe play in double A, but yeah. And he's also the type of player that could potentially fall to us at number 8, so I don't hate that. Throw him on the short list too. The other big potential guy here, well, there's a few actually. Greg Wilholte also looks pretty good. Just kind of projects to be a good player. Um, Nothing stands out to me as amazing. He's, just good at a lot of things. He can kind of play most positions. He's got decent hitting potential. He's got decent speed. Um, you know, Decent at everything isn't really what I'm looking for with the number 8 pick, but sure, we'll add him for now. We can always go back and cut this down. I'll probably look to add about 12 guys onto this list. I think that's um, a good number to get kind of a mix of multiple guys that you're building accuracy and relationship on, and also, um, yeah, not getting a good amount of depth on those guys as well. Um, Benson projects as a good fielder with pretty decent hitting ratings. I mean, I don't hate him either. All right. And I like to sort by power just to see who we've got here. Anyone? Ryan Gibson. They have him at shortstop, but with these ratings, probably would look to play him at like second base. Um, I mean, he looks decent for a second baseman. That 70 power is nice. He could come in, play in rookie league ball without much issue. Age 21. Yeah. Okay. And Haynes. I don't love the avoid Ks here. That's quite low. The rest of his hitting ratings look good. His fielding isn't amazing either. Andy's 22. Yeah. All right. Let's sort by potential and see who the high work ethic guys are here. We already looked at Mark Lane. Lorenzo De Jesus. Yeah, he's alright. He's 18. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Visconti we already looked at as well. And then will we go into 3.5 star guys? Sure, why not? Ben Doiron is solid. I mean, he's again not a center fielder. He would be a left fielder most likely, maybe a right fielder if he can improve that a little bit more. Um, Brady Gerhard has both high work ethic and high baseball IQ. He does have much better fielding ratings and good batting ratings as well. I wouldn't mind him, honestly. If I could snag him in the second round, I would be very happy with that. I think, and again, these ratings might change slightly based on what our scout finds at the combine and leading up to the draft, but based on what I've seen so far, I do like Lane. I like Gibson, and Visconti, and I like Gerhard. Okay. So that should be good for our batters. Let's look at pitchers now. And we'll do it the same thing. Going to pitching potential. And we want to include overall, work ethic, baseball IQ, age is already in there. Definitely injury prone. And demand too. Okay. Oh, and number of pitches. Pitches, and we want both of these in here as well. Because our home run potential, from things I've been seeing, that is one of the most important ratings in this version of OOTP. Is this home run HRA rating is, you want that to be 50 or above on like your starting pitchers pretty much all the time. Otherwise, they are likely not going to do well. So, looking at that, I mean, Eric Collins has some great potential, not good control, but amazing stuff, decent movement. He's the type of guy that I'm sure the CPU loves. Yeah, I can't imagine he's not. Well, that's surprising. I don't see him in the top anything. Am I crazy? Am I just missing him? Ernesto Gasca. I mean, he looks good. He is 22 already, but he looks good. Oh, yeah. And I want to see. Yeah. Well, Ernesto Gasca, we just looked at. He's going on the short list, I think. Collins. Yeah, we'll look at Collins just because he doesn't have. I mean, he's not projected to go very high for some reason. I like Kierston. I'm gonna guess at that pronunciation. Kierston. I'll figure that out. He's got 5 pitches. I can count. All right. And great movement, great control, potential. Stuff is not amazing, but with these, man, I really like him, honestly. He's 18, which is the only iffy thing, and he doesn't have the personality traits, but he's someone I want to keep my eye on. Phil Arriola, great name, only has 3 pitches, but has good ratings. Ooh, but signability for Oakland is impossible. Okay, now, does that mean... Yeah, something I should include in here too is the relationship with the team. It is currently very weak. I don't know. One thing I can kind of experiment here and see is if I raise this up from very weak, if the signability also goes up, or if these impossible signabilities just stay at impossible regardless. You'll see that with a lot of high school guys that just will not sign for under $6 or $7 million unless, even regardless of where they're drafted. Which, I mean, we do have the money to potentially draft one of those guys. yeah, I'm interested to kind of see what happens there. Yeah, let's just see. I'm curious. I'm curious. Jack Duberly. He's got 4 pitches, but really mainly 3, and his sinker, will it develop? He's someone that potentially would maybe be more of a reliever. Joe Rickerson, also only 2 pitches. He's a reliever. Okay, so let's look and see. Riley Simon has 90 stuff, but only 30 control. Man, that's like an interesting reliever prospect, but not worth taking with the number 8 pick in the draft for sure. Chris Johnson looks interesting. He's just a very solid all around player and would probably, yeah, be able to pitch successfully at rookie league. Yeah, I don't hate that pick either. Okay. So, how many are we at for our short list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Well, I was shooting for around 12. Yeah, I like this subset. Kind of got an even mix of a few more batters than pitchers, but 7 batters, 5 pitchers. That I'm fine with that. Just given how things are split up. Mark Lohman, the Little Professor. That's a nickname right there. He is 21. He's another guy. You know, let's throw him on there as well. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and sim to the next day and kind of see how these change. We've got our draft watch list. Now 13 players, but I'm okay with that. We lose to Colorado in extra innings. Montero goes 6 scoreless, and Yerlin Rodriguez actually gives up the lead. Matsui pitches 1 1/3 scoreless. And Cameron, who's been really good so far, that's his first earned run, I think, of the season in the majors. So you hate to see that. But, you know, this team's going to do a lot of losing. In fact, that loss now puts us in sole possession of last place overall in the league. So, yeah. And the Nashville Stars started off hot and have cooled off considerably. Are they dealing with any injuries or just Nick Bitsko? All right. Sorry, ADHD brain there. Let's go back here and all right, 3 of these guys are now very high league interest. And if we go back to the draft combine screen, yeah, we can see kind of where guys stand on here. Mark Lane, unsurprisingly, on that list. Kyle Reed, yeah, I'm not even going to bother scouting Kyle Reed. Scott Sharpton is a guy that I don't think we looked at, but maybe we should. I like the durable injury proneness and the fact that he's somewhat developed. 21 is not too old. Defense looks decent. Was he a guy? I don't think he's a guy that we looked at all. All right. So going back here to my scouting list, I feel like I'm starting to get too many guys on here. So are there any guys that I feel like I'm not high on, or not as high on as some of these other guys? I do still like Visconti. Mark Lohman, I do still like him. Gibson. Greg Wilhoit. He's 22. All right, Phil Arriola. Relationship week. Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with removing Phil Arriola to leave us at 13 for now. All right. And combine runs for 4 more days. Let's go again. And scout accuracy, still average on all these guys. Yeah, let's see here. League interest has jumped up to high for Eric Collins, which, yeah, that's kind of what I expected initially from him. I still think one of these other starting pitchers would probably be my pick over him. And is that enough, in fact, to, along with the 9.5 million demand? Yeah, I'm okay removing him from my board. And then Gasca, everyone else that's very high, I do still like. Yeah, let's see if there's any other interesting names here. Oh, yeah, low potential in both of those. All right. Oh, and we lose again. Okay. Next day, K. Kelly lost his shutdown streak by giving up the lead. Ferris, by the way, has continued to just absolutely crush everything. I did want to point that out. Again, slight sidetrack here, but in the last All-Star update, unsurprisingly, none of our guys are in the top except for Jackson Ferris, who is currently getting fifth place in votes for starting pitcher. He deserves it. I mean, he's had a great season so far. The Mariners bullpen absolutely stacked this year. At least that's what the voters think. And, just taking a quick glance at here, I think the voters are right. They're pretty incredible. Okay. Yeah, I do have it where every team is going to be represented in the All-Star game, but Jackson Ferris well on his way to, deserving representation on his own merits as well. So let's go ahead here. How many days do we have left on the combine? 2 more days. And our scouting on Visconti's gone up to high. I do want to see if it kind of changes over time. I mean, he's only getting better in our scouts' eyes. That's what we like to see. We lost to Kansas City. That's also not surprising. Yeah, where did we go? Okay, we want here. Cool. Some of these guys are at high. Gasca's still at low, which is interesting considering he's been on our list the entire time. Yeah, any of these guys kind of losing a step in my eyes where I should take them off? I mean, Greg Wilhoit, his potential contract has dropped from 80 to 75. Oh no, he's unplayable with only 75 potential contact instead of 80. Yeah, okay. And let's just leave these guys here. I don't think I want to switch this up at all. 1 more day. Oh, and the White Sox are already sending trade proposals. I mean, I don't entirely hate that, but I'm not looking to trade quite yet. And in the latest update, Ferris is up to 4th place in starting pitching votes. I'd be shocked if anyone else is getting any votes, and they're not. We did win our game against Kansas City. Keller put up 5 decent innings here. Still, speaking of trades, he is someone that I would look to trade. And I guess if we're throwing trades out, let's go ahead and set him to on the block. Um, See if any interesting offers come in for him, but likely I won't trade until around the All Star game. The All Star game and the draft actually take place on the same day this year, which is interesting. And yeah, speaking of which, I think I will sim to that deadline, and yeah, we'll do the draft, and then that'll be it for this episode. But um, yeah, we'll go ahead and sim to the draft, see how some of these guys that we shortlisted, if we continue to get more scouting info on them, see, who we want to pick at number 8. So I will likely sim to that point or shortly before. Again, pausing if there's going to be any injury updates or things like that. So I'll talk to you soon. All right, just cutting in here real quick with a minor pitching update. Alvaro Benua is back from injury, moving back into the setup role. I've also swapped some stuff around here. Henry Lane back up in the majors after doing pretty well at AA and AAA, and sent down to make room for both of those guys, Yerlin Rodriguez and Ivan Oviedo. Rodriguez started off the season well and then has just kind of fallen apart here, has a 6.95 ERA, which is not ideal. And Oviedo, again, kind of the same thing. Yeah, a little more consistent than Rodriguez, but still not great. And so we switched some stuff around here. Sinja is moving into the other setup role, with Matsui and Lalane here both kind of filling those lefty roles, and Corella still kind of struggling as a starter. I've moved Cameron to the 5th starter role. Burkhalter doing pretty well in the 4th starter role. He's given up his last start, gave up no earned runs, went 8 innings. I mean, that's all you can ask for from your starter, really. So he will likely stay there for the considerable future. Montero's still doing solid as the 4th or 3rd pitcher, and of course Keller and Ferris we've talked about. Lineup wise, haven't made any changes yet, although given that this lineup continues to struggle offense wise, yeah, we're still close to the bottom in just about every category here. Pitching, we're still doing decent. Record wise, we're still in last place. So I might try to look to make some more moves here. The biggest one would be Zanatello, calling him up. He's continuing to just rake in AAA, over 1,000 OPS. Probably will get called up sooner rather than later. With the defense, he'd probably be our starting second baseman. The problem with that is Acuna, who is currently our starting baseman, one of the few guys with an OPS plus over 100, but you don't necessarily hate that. What I do hate is that Nick Simillo, after his hot start, has cooled off considerably and is now worth negative WAR and has an OPS plus under 100, which I don't. Gonna be honest, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. And in fact, only 3 guys on our team even have an OPS plus above 100, which, yeah, that's not great hitting. Yeah, so we'll have to change up some stuff. The problem is, without much depth in the minors, who do you call up to kind of replace those guys? We could give Ben Williamson another shot. He's continuing to do pretty well in the minors. He kind of, strikes me as one of those quad A kind of guys that probably won't do much in the majors, especially at age 27, but, I guess we could see. Zanatello is an obvious call-up. Encarnacion's another potential one where he's been consistently solid and probably deserves to get called up at some point. So maybe we'll look to do that after making some trades, getting, I don't know what we'd get in return for some of these guys, but I'm still hopefully looking to trade Keller. Um, Beyond that, who would even fetch value from our team? I mean, maybe we could look to trade someone like Kinney or Sonoja or Acuna that are like on the 25, 26 border where you know, how much are they going to be contributing 2, 3 years from now when ideally this team is actually good? Probably not much. Someone like Chorio I want to keep because he's still only 23 and has good potential and has put up not awful numbers this year at least. But Samilo was someone I was going to look to trade, and I don't know how much value he'd have now. Classe, I mean, he's still a good defender, but even that's fallen off a little bit too. So, yeah. And then Vargas, he's a DH type that isn't hitting. I don't know. It's going to be kind of rough to see what we can kind of claw away from other teams in terms of trade value. Our prospects are still. Oh, we are up to the 31st ranked minor league system. I'm sure the only team that's below us is likely the Stars. Um, yeah, but not great. So we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to the draft where we can add some sort of prospect talent into our system instead of literally. I mean, we didn't have a minor league system to start. I chose to start that way because I thought, generating guys might make it. There's always the chance of generating an elite prospect starting in your minors, and then it's kind of, I feel like, not realistic to how that would go in real life. But the alternative right now, which is what we're seeing, is that I kind of fill my minors with the dregs, the cast-offs from other teams, and very little of value here. And if we look at our organization overall, well, our AAA team is doing well. Everyone else, not so much. Our Trojans are 6-36. That's not good. I mean, that is one thing too. Is you want your minor league teams to do well because that tends to promote more prospect growth. But again, what prospects do we even have to grow right now? So there's always the random chance someone could break out, but it's pretty unlikely at the moment. I haven't seen. I mean, I guess we could do a quick minor league roundup here in terms of, Bello's our only real prospect at the moment. He's continuing to do well. Beyond that, Selvage is having an okay season, a salvageable season. Sorry about that. In AAA, Correa was started the year on the IL. I will have to. He was on the 60-day IL, so I'll have to do something with my roster once he's done with rehab in 3 whole days, but that is a problem for 3 days from now. And then, yeah, we talked about Williamson and Zanatello already. Connor Burns might come up at some point, too, just because, our catching hasn't been great, and he's already on the 40, so, again, why not? Yeah, nothing too amazing. Caleb Cali, is he a major league talent? Probably not. Pitching wise, Matthew Watson, yeah, I mean, nothing spectacular here either. Jackson Finley, I mean, he's at least a guy with potential, but he's got potential, but is also 27 years old and not going to reach that potential. So, what could have been, I guess. Po Yu Chen. I mean, yeah, he is what he is. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to round up here, honestly. I almost regret even just clicking through here and seeing this for myself because, yeah, I mean, our A plus team probably needs a few more guys on it. Demarion Terrell, I've had him do decent in other saves. I think he just that name sticks out to me because of his elite center field ratings. He ends up, playing for my minor league teams a decent amount. I feel like um, Brandon Logan, the only one really doing well for the Thunderbolts currently, and I mean, he is 21 years old with 2-star potential and decent offensive ratings, so you know, maybe. And then Michael Catalano, I think he started the season with 2.5-star potential. That's dropped since then, but he's putting up good numbers. Could maybe be a decent starting pitcher someday, which is a sad state of affairs for the top end state of your system when that's the most ideal outcome you can hope for. And yeah, no one in the rookie league ball is doing well at all. I mean, I guess I should look at my international complex and see, someone like Jose Contreras could probably play right now. But yeah, that does throw me off because this team doesn't have a Dominican or Florida team. The Dominican League is not really a thing for this team. So yeah, Jose Contreras can start going in rookie league ball. Again, one of the few things that we have that's even close to a prospect. And let's go ahead and if we set ratings relative to rookie league ball, can any of these other guys play? Kind of, but Acevedo. Yeah, I like to leave these guys in here either until they turn 18 or until their ratings are like a 2-star overall, or we look at let me go back to Contreras again. He's got 2-star potential and has 40 stuff. His control's still not good, but I think that's good enough to at least try starting him in ACL. Yeah. But yeah, dire state of affairs when we have no prospects to speak of and also are the worst team in baseball. So yeah, the draft should be a big help. That should be coming up next, most likely. I'll see you soon. Welcome back here. It is now July 10th. We are officially at the All-Star break. I think what I'm going to do, since this episode is a little long already, just going to give a general overview of where things are at the All-Star break and then do the draft at the start of the next episode. You can see that set to go tomorrow. It'll probably take a little bit, so I think it makes sense to do it this way. Let's just go through standings. As you can see, we are 35-54. We are the worst team in baseball. There are other teams that were within shouting distance at least. We are not far and away the worst team in baseball, but we are still the worst team in baseball. Doing okay in our last 10. There's been a few positive signs in there, but very few so far. Looking at each division, Orioles and Red Sox currently battling it out for first place in the AL East. Tigers have a comfortable lead over the White Sox here in the AL Midwest. Our division, the AL West, is not particularly strong, which makes our record a little more concerning too, since presumably we're playing those teams a lot. The Vegas Blue Raiders have a half-game lead over the Diamondbacks with only one game over 500 record, and the Rangers are the best team in the AL right now, and in fact, the best team in the league by record, 63-27. Let's dive into them a little bit, just because, yeah, you can see they're first in every major offensive category except for stolen bases, and their rotation's top 3 as well, at least by ERA, rotation and bullpen.
Yeah, that's pretty astounding. I think Wyatt Langford having another great season. Yep, he's on track for 7.3 WAR. And if we look at the rest of their lineups, yeah, they've got one, two, three, four, five, six guys with over 3 WAR on the season so far. Evan Carter crushing it center field for them. Austin Wells at catcher. Yeah, they're absolutely stacked. And then their pitching rotation led by Drew Rasmussen. Well, presumably led by Drew Rasmussen, but if we're going by FIP and by WAR, I think it looks like Trevor Rogers has been more of their ace so far. Um, Skylar Hales, who I would project as more of a reliever, but they're using as a starter, and he's doing well for them. None of these guys are completely blowing things away, but they're very solid overall. Like, I can see why this is a good team. Um, yeah, let's see here. Wild card spots currently the Mariners and Red Sox are battling it out. This league structure is such that every division winner will make it in, and then there's 2 wild card spots. So 6 teams total. It's the old NFL postseason format before they expanded that to 7 teams. Top 2 teams get a bye. Other 4 teams play each other in the first round, and then it does reseed after every round. So the first seed will play whoever the lowest overall seed is remaining. Second seed will play second lowest, and so on, with the higher seed getting home field advantage. Moving to the AL, it's a battle between the Braves and the Expos for first place in the NL East. Expos only a half game behind. Cardinals, Brewers duking it out in the NL Central. The Rockies are in first place in the NL West. That's a bit surprising, but I did do a Rockies save in the last OOTP, and so a lot of these names look pretty familiar to me. Charlie Condon is, one of their young players who's set to do quite well. He was a beast, I think, in my save. Zach V never developed for me, but he's another good one. Brenton Doyle, he's age 30 now, but very solid center fielder. Has put up consistently good numbers year after year for them. And Drew Romo, OOTP legend, and it seems like in every version he just becomes a beast due to his great defensive ratings, and that no exception here. So, yeah, they have solid offensive numbers all around, and second highest starter ERA despite playing in Coors. Ryan Pepio is doing well for them, and Jordan Balazovic, as well as Humberto Castellanos. All right, yeah, he played for them 2025 and has stayed there and put up decent numbers every year. So anyway, that's your Rockies. They have the best record in the NL currently too. So Phillies and Pirates duking out for the NL Atlantic lead, and it is the Brewers and Expos who are currently in line for the 2 wildcard spots. Looking at our leaders, I don't think there's anything that stands out to me. Bryce Eldridge has 32 home runs. He is on pace for 58, so that's something to watch if he can get to 60 this season. Ohtani still with 32 stolen bases, leading the NL. He's putting up, Ohtani numbers, not quite peak Ohtani numbers, but, he is age 34 now in this save and still a beast. So, as far as our team getting on the leaderboards, very few representation there. You see Sanoja has been good recently, and in fact has been pretty decent throughout the season. He's someone, ideally you'll want to use as a bench player for multiple positions, which is kind of how we used him a little bit. He's mainly been our starting left fielder due to lack of depth in the outfield, but he can play a bunch of different positions and actually play them well. He's a good utility type player, and he's someone who I might look to hang on to. He's only 25, about to be 26, but he's solid depth, and I don't. If I could get something back for him in a trade, I might, but I might look to keep him as well. Other than that, unsurprisingly, Jackson Ferris is the only other representation on our team, and you can see he leads the AL and probably the league, if I had to guess. Let me see. Pitcher WAR. Where's ERA? Yeah, he leads the entire league in ERA. He's still pitching with a sub-2 ERA with 19 games started. 3.3 WAR, on pace for 6 WAR season. And we'll look at the All-Star rosters in a second, but spoilers, he is our lone All-Star representative in that game. Deservedly so. We were going to have one regardless, but it's not surprising it's him. He earned it on his own merits, and he's someone who I think I'm going to house rule that I'm not going to extend players to long-term contracts until their first year of arbitration eligibility, but he is someone that I will certainly look to do so as soon as possible. You're always a little wary of giving pitchers long-term deals, but if he keeps pitching like this, he will more than deserve it. So, moving on to our roster, if we take a look at the overview, we're still really bad offensively. We're still middle of the pack to bad in pitching. Our defense is good. Our stolen bases are okay. Yeah, not a lot of positives here to kind of talk about. Our pitching staff, Sinja is pitching quite well as a reliever for us. His ERA is not amazing, but he's putting up good WAR. And that's still pretty solid ERA overall as a reliever, and he's leading the team in FIP as well. Yuki Matsui has come up and done quite well for us as well, which is great to see. He's a guy that was very, I had my doubts that he'd even make the major league roster, and 17 innings pitched, and he's come in and been a very strong lefty for us, which is what I hoped for when we signed him to just a 1-year deal, but he is arbitration eligible, being, I don't know where I was going with that sentence. He's someone who we will either look to trade or keep in the future. Like, looking at potential trade targets on our team, someone like Matsui would be on the block. Mitch Keller, obviously, we pretty much signed him for the sole purpose of trading him this season. If he did well, and I'd say he's done well enough to hopefully get something back. He's a pretty solid starting pitcher. Hopefully someone will want that depth going into the playoffs. The rest of our rotation has been okay. Sub 5 ERA, which is about the best I can hope for at this point. Montero's still young. I'll probably look to keep him, but Burkhalter, Cameron, both those guys could get traded. Kevin Kelly, who was our closer, putting up good numbers. He's age 30. I'd probably look to trade him as well. I'd say anyone who's over 25 is definitely on the trade block. And if you're 25 or younger, you're not necessarily safe either. So I'll just kind of see who the CPU values and what I could potentially get back for them, and if it makes sense. Our offense here, led by Cooper Kinney, despite having played in several less games than some of these guys, he leads our team in WAR. He's been doing quite well offensively. He is someone who we could potentially keep long term as well, as our starting first baseman, at least for the near future. I don't mind that. He's, again, only 25. Same with Sonoha. Like, he's our starting left fielder. Ideally, I'd want to use him in more of a utility role, but I could keep him. Our young guys, Santana's come up and done pretty decent. He's still only 22, so putting up 1 WAR, not great OPS, but again, he's a defensive first guy, and yeah, his defense has been pretty great so far. which is what you want to see from your starting shortstop in this game. I also just called up Zanatello. He was absolutely raking in AAA still. He deserved the call up. I sent Brooks Lee down. He was struggling. He's currently our starting third baseman, mainly because I wanted to keep starting Acuna at second base for now, and Acuna does not have any training at third base. This is something where if I had claimed him before spring training, somehow I would have probably tried to get him experience at third base, because ideally, defensive wise, you'd want Zantello at second and Acuna at third. But for right now, we'll just roll with this. Deal with that in the off season. If Acuna is still here in the off season, he's someone who's also 26 and might look to be traded if I can get something decent back for him. Not much of note with the rest of this offense, other than Camilo, still struggling, unfortunately. And if we look in AAA, there's not many guys here that would be a huge improvement. I mean, we could call up Nolan Arenado. We would have to pay him $2.8 million, which is not the worst thing. Might be something I look to do after we trade some of these guys away, or even seeing if he would have any trade value at age 37. Ben Williamson also continues to do well at AAA, and has had very brief major experience. If there's interest in him, I'd definitely consider trading him. Our one trade offer that we've gotten so far has been for him. Not an amazing return, but those are the type of guys that I'd certainly look to trade. And another positive sign here, Alex Call has kind of turned things around in AAA. He's DH type, OPS over 100. And Peyton Eales, who was our return for the David Peterson trade, has had a solid season so far. He might be someone I look to flip again. In case you were curious, the last time I looked at David Peterson, I think we were very vindicated in trading him. Yeah, he is now slipped. He started the year starting for them, and, well, I guess he only made one start for them, but his ratings have fallen off. They're using him as a reliever, which, I guess would be fine, but you're also paying him $10 million next year, so that's not exactly the performance you'd want from a pitcher that you're paying that much money. So if we can look to trade Peyton Eales and get something back for him, that would be ideal as well. Let's see. Our pitching in AAA, mostly unspectacular. Correa has come back off the injury list and done quite well as a starter. He's someone who I might look to bring up at the moment. He did pass through waivers after the IL rehab time was done, and so keeping him at AAA for now. If we have an injury, he'd probably be one of the first in line to get called up. Bello is continuing to do well. I'd like to see him develop just a little bit more before I bring him up, but he's someone who's kind of on the cusp as well, with the numbers he's put up so far this year. He might be someone, depending on performance, that I start in, keep him in the minors this year, maybe start him there next year, and look to bring him up either at the start of the year or after May, something like that. Maybe after about 30 or so days in the minors, if you catch my drift, for those of you who engage in service time manipulation. Not that I would ever do such a thing, but next up on the episode, we've got the first year draft. That'll probably be, we need the draft. Our player development, we're back down to 32 overall. We do at least have 3 top 200 prospects listed now, which is something. But yeah, obviously our minor system is not great. We need the draft to inject some good young talent into our system, and then the trade deadline after that. Again, another way that we're going to try to get some young talent in here because, that's the future of this team. We're not going to the playoffs this year, barring an absolute miracle. Yeah, so that's going to about wrap it up for this episode. Next episode will be the draft, will be the trading deadline, and I'll look to see you then.